Shahnaz, who was extremely poor. Whenever she saw any girl dressed in expensive clothes, she would think to herself, "I wish I had that much wealth. Then I too would look so beautiful." Although she herself was so beautiful that her friends often praised her. Her father did tailoring work at home. She would constantly tell him stories of their poverty. One day, an old book was found in the house which mentioned the hilltop fort near the village. In that fort, gold coins had been hidden for centuries. Hearing this, Shahnaz became happy and told her special friend Junera. But Junera hesitated to go there and warned Shahnaz against it too. Still, Shahnaz did not listen and reached the fort built on the hill. Inside, gold coins were indeed scattered on the ground. But then she felt a presence behind her, a Jinn who had lived there for centuries. He was waiting for a greedy girl. When Shahnaz saw him, she got scared. His body was black and terrifying. But her attention was more on the coins. The Jinn knew she was greedy. The Jinn said, "If you want the coins, then stay with me until I am satisfied." In her greed, Shahnaz sold her body, but this greed was going to prove costly. What the Jinn did after that would leave anyone stunned. Shahnaz was even more beautiful than her beautiful name. Her eyes were as if someone had plucked the two brightest stars from the night sky and placed them in her face. The villagers said that God had made her with great care. But this same beauty was the cause of her greatest restlessness. Shahnaz's mother, Amina, had passed away when she was just 5 years old. She remembered her mother's face only like a blurry dream. Whenever she asked her father, Hamid Karim, about her mother, a strange sadness would float in Hamid's eyes. He would immediately change the subject, as if he had buried a deep secret in his heart and didn't want its shadow to fall on Shahnaz. There was no lack of love from her father. Hamid Karim was the only tailor in the village. With his weak eyes and trembling hands, he had raised Shahnaz by stitching people's old torn clothes day and night. The constant kot-kot sound of the sewing machine echoed in the house all the time. For Shahnaz, this sound was the noise of their poverty. Poverty was a curse that never left their doorstep. Whenever Shahnaz saw other village girls wearing colorful clothes, gold earrings and tinkling anklets, a pang would rise in her heart. She would look at her torn scarf and old faded salwar kameez, and her eyes would fill with hatred. Hatred for poverty? She would think for hours, "I wish we had money too. I would also wear velvet suits. I would also have anklets." And when she saw any girl riding a scooter through the village streets, her heart would ache. "I wish my father had wealth too. And I could also ride a scooter, roam around the whole village." When her friends talked about their new jumkas and bangles, Shahnaz would quietly get up and leave. She had nothing to show off except her beauty, but she had started to consider a burden. One day, a marriage proposal came to their house. The boy's family was from the city and seemed well off. The boy saw Shahnaz and fell for her at first sight. A ray of hope also awakened in Shahnaz's heart for the first time. She started weaving dreams. A big house, beautiful clothes, and freedom from this poverty. But when the boy's mother stared with contemptuous eyes at their broken house, old utensils, and Hamid Karim's torn clothes, a scornful smile appeared on her face. She said very coldly, "The girl is like a piece of the moon, but we cannot sink our wealth into this poverty." This refusal hit Shahnaz's heart like a hammer. That day she cried so much that her eyes became swollen. She fought with her father, saying, "Why are we so poor? Father, how long will you keep stitching these torn clothes? What has the sewing machine's noise given us, except for the suffocation and humiliation?" Hamid Karim made her sit next to him. There were tears in his eyes. Stroking Shahnaz's head, he said, "Daughter, greed for more is not good. Learn to be thankful for what God has given us. This same greed, this same greed was the reason for your mother." Saying this, he fell silent. But the pain in his eyes and his half-spoken words became a question hidden in Shahnaz's heart. What had happened because of her mother? After that night, Shahnaz became even quieter. The fire for wealth had burned even brighter in her heart. She had to become rich at any cost now. She felt angry at her father's advice. "You also had a lot of wealth before," she thought to herself. "Mother must have done something wrong. But why should I suffer the punishment for your failure?" She remembered hearing people say in her childhood that Hamid Karim used to be rich once, but his wife Amina had destroyed everything. That's why the father and daughter were poor today. This thought stung her even more. One day, while cleaning a corner of the house, she found an old, termite-eaten trunk of her mother's. Under the old, discolored clothes in the trunk was a book with a black cover. Its pages had turned yellow, and something was written on them in a strange, incomprehensible language. Just as Shahnaz was about to close it, her eyes fell on a page where a few lines were written in clear Urdu. These lines revealed the location of a treasure. The book said that in the deserted hill outside the village, inside the centuries-old fort, an immense treasure was hidden. But a black jinn protected that treasure, and at the very end, a strange condition was written. Whoever comes to acquire that treasure must come dressed in their most beautiful attire, because the master of that fort is a worshipper of beauty. Shahnaz's eyes shone. In her trembling hands was that book, or the key to her destiny. She felt that God had finally listened to her. She immediately ran to her best friend Junaira. When Junora heard all this, her face turned pale with fear. She held Shahnaz's hand tightly and said, "No, Shahnaz, for God's sake, don't go there. I've heard from elders that the jinn who lives in that fort is very dangerous. They say his first preference is beautiful girls, and he keeps them captive. No one in the village is more beautiful than you. This treasure is a trap, Shahnaz." Junaira was not greedy for wealth. She was a simple girl, happy in her small world. She tried very hard to convince Shahnaz, but it was useless. Shahnaz was possessed by an obsession for wealth. She didn't listen to Junaira. She said, "I would rather try my luck once than suffocate and die in this poverty. I don't want to live this humiliating life." Shahnaz decided to go there. But the book's condition. Where did she have the money to buy good clothes? She asked Junaira for some money. Junora, crying, gave her the money, as if she were sending her friend on a final journey. Shahnaz went to the market. She bought the most beautiful dress of her life, a bright red salwar kameez, intricately embroidered with golden threads. She also bought silver jumkas, dark kyle for her eyes, and bright red lipstick. That evening, as the sun was setting and a saffron color was spreading in the sky, Shahnaz got ready. When she saw herself in the broken mirror at home, for a moment she couldn't believe she was the same Shahnaz. She looked like a princess from a kingdom. Just then, her father, Hamid Karim, saw her. For a moment, he was stunned seeing his daughter's beauty. But the very next moment, his heart trembled with a foreboding of something bad. There was the same glow in Shahnaz's eyes. The same passion, the same thirst for wealth that he had seen years ago in Amina's eyes. Shahnaz's daughter, where? Before Hamid Karim could say anything else, Shahnaz opened the door and quickly disappeared into the darkness. "Stop, daughter!" Hamid Karim kept shouting, but she didn't stop. The path to the hill was deserted and scary. The sound of the wind seemed like someone was crying. The sounds of wild crickets were creating fear. But in Shahnaz's heart, there was more desire for the treasure than fear. She was panting as she walked up the hill. When she reached the massive broken gate of the fort, it opened by itself with a creak, as if someone inside was waiting for her. The fort was like a maze inside. Torches were burning on the walls, in whose flickering light strange shadows were dancing. The air was filled with the dampness of centuries and a strange fragrance. She reached a large hall, and the scene she saw made her eyes widen in disbelief. Gold and jewels were scattered on the floor as if someone had spread dry leaves. There were piles of gold coins, diamonds, pearls, rubies, and emeralds. Gold coins were overflowing from chests, leaning against the walls. Seeing all this, Shahnaz went crazy. So much wealth. So much wealth. She screamed, fell to her knees, and started filling her fists with gold coins. Her laughter echoed throughout the hall. She was tossing coins in the air and watching them fall on her red attire. Then she felt a shadow behind her, a very large shadow that was blocking the torchlight. She turned to look, and her scream got stuck, echoing off the hall's walls. A gigantic entity stood before her. Its color was blacker than coal. Its body was like a mountain. Its eyes were burning like embers, and its face was so ugly and terrifying that anyone seeing it would die of fear right there. It was the Black Jinn. Shahnaz was trembling with fear. She started moving back, but her feet were rooted to the ground. But the Jinn's voice, contrary to its appearance, was very deep and calm. It said, "Don't be afraid, Shahnaz. I have not come to harm you." Shahnaz was surprised. How did he know her name? The Jinn smiled. His smile was making his ugly face even more horrifying. "I know everything about you, Shahnaz. I have been watching you for months. No, for years. When you sit by your window at night and look at the moon, I watch you. When you cry over your poverty, I watch you." He moved towards Shahnaz, who was now pressed against the wall in fear. "I used to come to the village many times to see you," the Jinn said. "When you slept in your room at night, I used to watch your beauty from the window. Your innocence, your hair, your eyes. Your beauty has made me your devotee." Shahnaz's soul trembled. This Jinn had been watching her secretly. "I am so ugly and lonely," the Jinn said sadly. "I used to think, I wish I were as beautiful and young as you. I was sure that the glitter of wealth would one day draw you to me." "This book?" Shahnaz asked in a trembling voice. "I wrote it myself," the Jinn confessed. "I laid this trap just for you. And see, my wait is over. You are here in front of me." Part 5. In the loneliness of the fort. The Jinn was very happy to see Shahnaz. He couldn't believe that Shahnaz had actually come to the fort. He was immensely happy inwardly. The Jinn, pointing towards the piles of gold, said, all this can be yours. All the wealth of the world will be at your feet." Despite the fear, the gleam of greed returned to Shahnaz's eyes. But the Jinn said in his heavy voice, "It has a price." "What price?" Shahnaz asked. "The price is you," the Jinn said. "These gold coins are for you. But more valuable than this gold for me are you. You cannot take a single one of these gold coins out of this fort." Then Shahnaz couldn't understand. "To get it, you have to stay in this fort with me, forever, or at least until I grow tired of you." Shahnaz was stunned. The Jinn continued, "You will get everything in the world that you desire here in my fort. Silk clothes, the world's finest food, diamonds, jewels, ... I will bring all that for you in the fort. Your every wish will be fulfilled. But your world will only be this fort. You will not be permitted to go outside." Shahnaz had two paths before her. On one side was her disgusting poverty, humiliation, and the life of a broken home. On the other side was this terrifying cage, laden with gold, guarded by this ugly Jinn. For a moment she remembered her father's face. She remembered Junora's warning. But then the gold coins started dancing before her eyes. She thought, home is also a prison of poverty. Here at least I will have wealth. I will live like a queen. And she said yes. The initial days were like a dream. The Jinn made the fort a paradise for Shahnaz. She would blink, and the most delicious food in the world would appear. Silk and velvet clothes would come for her, perhaps woven by fairies. Diamonds and jewels became toys for her. The Jinn would talk to her for hours. He would tell her stories of his centuries of loneliness. He fulfilled every wish of Shahnaz except one, the wish to leave the fort. Shahnaz was very happy. She had left poverty behind forever. She felt she had made the right decision. Part 6. But slowly, weeks turned into months, and months into years. Everything started to change. The same gold now seemed like yellow stones to her. The same jewels seemed like pieces of colorless glass. The vast, silent walls of the fort seemed to suffocate her. She started missing the dusty lanes of the village, the dry bread made by her father's hands, and Junora's meaningless chatter. The Jinn's constant presence around her, staring at her beauty, no longer felt good. His love now felt like surveillance. She was beautiful, but now there was no one to see her beauty, except for an ugly Jinn. She was the richest prisoner in the world. One night, she was standing at the fort's window, crying bitterly. The moon was full, and in its light, her village below was twinkling like a small lamp. The Jinn came to her and asked in his heavy voice, "You have all the wealth of the world, Shahnaz. At your signal, I can pluck stars from the sky. Then why are there these tears in your eyes?" Shahnaz's patience broke. She screamed, "I don't want this wealth. I don't want this gold. I want freedom. I want to go to my father. I am tired of living in this cage." The Jinn fell silent. There was a strange sadness in his burning eyes today. He took a deep breath and said, "Your mother made the same mistake." Shahnaz was shocked. She forgot to cry. "My mother? You knew my mother?" The Jinn let out a cold sigh and unveiled the secret that Hamid Karim had hidden for years. "Your mother Amina was just as beautiful and greedy as you," the Jinn began. "She too had come here desiring this treasure. She too had promised to stay with me. I had started loving her immensely. She had become the solace for my centuries of loneliness." There was pain in the Jinn's voice. "But she wanted freedom, along with wealth. She grew tired of me. One night she betrayed me. She stole some precious jewels and tried to run away from here. I stopped her," the Jinn said. "I could have killed her right then. But I loved her. I punished her. I took all the jewels from her and threw her out of the fort. But I put a lock on her tongue so that she could never tell anyone the secret of this fort." Part 7. Shahnaz was trembling, listening to all this. "Your father knew all this," the Jinn said. The shock of losing the wealth and the shame of her mistake ate her up from inside. She fell silent and died within a few years. "Your mother didn't just die, Shahnaz. Her greed killed her. Your father wanted to keep you away from this same greed." Hearing this, the ground slipped from under Shahnaz's feet. Now she understood why her father never mentioned his wife. She realized that she too was following in her mother's footsteps. The veil of pride and greed fell from her eyes. She looked at the Jinn. For the first time, she saw in the Jinn's ugly face his centuries of loneliness and the pain of his love. She didn't feel hatred for him, but pity. Wiping her tears, Shahnaz said, "I will not become like my mother. I don't want this treasure. I have understood that real wealth is not gold and silver, but self-respect and freedom. If you have even a little love for me, then let me go." There was no greed in Shahnaz's eyes now, but truth and regret. The Jinn kept looking at her silently. For the first time in his life, he had seen pity for himself in a human's eyes. Shahnaz's words had affected his stony heart. He realized that he could imprison someone's body, but not their soul. The Jinn said in a heavy voice, "You may go." The fort's massive gate creaked open once again. Shahnaz did not look back even once at that pile of gold. She ran down the hill. When she reached her home, it was dawn. Hamid Karim was sitting at the door waiting for her. His eyes were swollen from crying. As soon as he saw Shahnaz, he stumbled towards her. Shahnaz hugged her father and started crying like a child. "Forgive me, father. Forgive me." She didn't need to say anything. Hamid Karim understood everything. He hugged his daughter tightly. After that day, Shahnaz changed completely. She never mentioned wealth again. She started helping her father with the tailoring work. She no longer hated the torn clothes and poverty. The same cot-cot sound of the machine now gave her peace. She had understood that it is better to be a free daughter in a mud house than a queen in a golden cage. Her beauty was still the same, but now it had a glow of peace and wisdom that was more precious than any treasure in the world. If you liked this story of Shahnaz and the Black Jinn, please do like it. What did you like most about this story? Did Shahnaz make the right decision? Tell us your opinion by commenting, and don't forget to share it with your friends to listen to such interesting stories.